So here we are again,
Yes.
discovering and unlocking your brain's superpowers.
Oh my gosh, I'm
Yeah,
so
that's what's happening right
excited.
now.
Yes.
And as always, training your brain to work for you, not against you.
Mm-hmm.
Most people are struggling because their
Mm.
brain is working against them. Today we're talking about a secret brain hack to bust cravings forever. As always, we're talking about nerve pathways
Yeah.
and rewiring them.
Yeah.
And you can kind of think of a nerve pathway as beating a path through the forest. So you got your undergrowth and you got your trees and they're in the way. And the first time you form that nerve pathway, it's hard
Mm.
because you're taking your machete and you're hacking your way through.
Right.
Now, sometimes it's fun to form that nerve pathway. That's how people get addicted to gambling and stuff. They don't it doesn't feel like they're hacking their way through, but then when you're trying to purposely create a new nerve pathway, it can be hard, but these brain training tricks are shortcuts and they make it
Mm.
easier. So if you visualize using a machete to hack your way through, these brain training tricks are like a super nice riding lawnmower. So you can sit there comfortably and just plow your way through because it happens a lot faster. And the more you travel a nerve pathway, the more that path gets beaten down in your brain. And so then it becomes permanent because all it is an electric impulse traveling a certain branch of nerves.
Mm-hmm.
That's all anything is. That's all a memory is, a thought, emotion, a habit, anything. So what we're doing here is we're short circuiting that nerve pathway for habits and cravings and things we want to break, and then creating a new path for habits and cravings that we want to have. And we're using that riding lawnmower to create that path in a faster, easier, funner way
Mm.
than the machete that most people use, and they just end up giving up just because it's too hard.
Well, yeah, because you're trying to get rid of the habit by like cutting things cold turkey. And I feel
Yeah.
like that just like doesn't really work. I mean, I'm sure everyone's tried that like a million. I know I have. Just trying to cut it. And sometimes it works if you have a lot of willpower, which most people don't.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why this is so great that we're learning about this for
Yeah.
sure.
If you're highly motivated enough for whatever reason, then it can
Yeah.
be done, but it's pretty rare
Mm-hmm.
and it doesn't usually last very long. Now, when you stop a habit, that will atrophy over time because if you stop going down that path in the woods, it grows back, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and then pretty soon there's no path there. So that's just atrophy over time.
Mm-hmm.
Use it or lose it kind of thing. But if you are using it and activating that craving pathway or habit over and over, then it gets deeper and deeper. And that's where people struggle. That's how they create really bad habits and cravings, deep cravings.
Mm-hmm.
So what I want to talk about today is the craving transformation
Mm-hmm.
brain training technique. And this is found in the defender brain type. It's one of the 16 brain types. But it's useful in a lot of others. It's just listed in the top 6 of the defender, but a lot of people can use this. And of course, the way to find out your brain training superpowers is to actually go take the test at braintype.me. Then you'll find out your top 6 for your brain type. Maybe you might get 12 because you might get 2 brain types, a primary and a secondary. But this would be the one if your brain type test comes up as the defender. This would be in your top 6. And the way to do this is you think of a food. Let's start with something you don't like,
Something I don't like.
that you wish you did like because it's healthy. You think of anything?
Probably cauliflower.
Okay.
It's a decent healthy food, I feel like.
Mhm.
Has no flavor, but yeah. Which is why I don't like it. No sugar in there.
Yeah.
So
Have you ever had rice cauliflower?
I think I've had it a couple of times, but I'm gonna be honest, I don't remember the flavor of it. I just know that like cauliflower itself, like it's the texture for me more than like the taste. But it's still kind of like bland, I would say.
Have you had the mock mashed potatoes made with cauliflower?
Mm-mm.
Mm.
You're just breaking into my world right now. Bringing things. Have you tried this? No. Have you tried this? No. Well, then why don't you
Well,
like it? I don't know.
And as far as the rice cauliflower goes, if you think
Yeah.
about it,
Yeah.
yeah, it's bland.
Yeah.
But so is rice.
Yeah, you can put
I mean,
flavoring on it and
if you eat rice by itself
right.
with nothing on it, it's kind of gross.
Yeah.
It's super bland, kind of cakey, chalky.
Right.
And but then when you put things in it and butter on it and salt and things, then it starts to taste good because of the stuff that went with it. But if you had a bowl of rice here and you had a bowl of riced cauliflower here, you'd actually have more flavor in the rice cauliflower than just the rice. The rice is pretty much darn flavorless,
Right.
like pasta by itself.
Yeah. No.
Who
Not
would
the
eat that?
greatest.
You're absolutely right about the tastes and everything, but there are ways to actually train your brain to want to eat
To
it.
like it. Yeah.
So if you're picturing cauliflower right now in your imagination, just kind of describe that mental picture to me.
White, obviously,
Mm-hmm.
tough,
Mm-hmm.
flavorless, crunchy. It's like too crunchy. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not a huge fan of like super crunchy vegetables.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, I guess that's how I would describe it. Do you need more detail
No.
or okay?
So now picture that food. You can close your eyes if you want, if it helps you concentrate on picturing the food. Now bring it a little bit closer to you. And now make the color a little bit deeper so that it's a little yellowish. It's not just pure white. And make that color a little bit brighter and a little sharper. Now higher definition and more 3D. Now closer still. And now the lighting is brighter, higher definition. And now you're just kind of admiring the structure of it. It's God's creation. And he made it kind of cool looking. Move it a little bit closer, a little more high def. The yellow was coming out a little bit better. And a little bit brighter surroundings. Kind of like a food photographer is going to take a picture of it.
We're in a grass field right now.
There you go. Okay, now clear your mind. Picture a blank movie screen. Now say your phone number really fast.
My phone number?
Mm-hmm. And now open your eyes. Now, if we were doing this as a real technique, the way I have designed the technique and the way that I created the video, so for the people that have this brain type to watch and to do it as a practice, I have them rate the food before they do that, and then rate the food after. But had we rated the food, would it seem any better to you now than
I
it did?
think yeah, I think when you talked about admiring the food and the way it's structured, that kind of put like an interesting picture in my head because it is a very interesting food. I've really never seen anything like cauliflower before.
Yeah.
It's same thing with broccoli. They're very similar. I feel like they're kind of from the same family. And broccoli's so weird because it has those little like, looks like blades of grass if you get up really close. But cauliflower is like all meshed together, but it's dense and it like has these crevices and like different like ups and downs, but it's all formed together and it looks like a tree, but it's white. And so it's just very interesting. I was thinking about that and something else that came to mind when I was thinking about the cauliflower, I'm like, how would I make it, and how would I make it different? And even though you were saying all these different things, in my mind, I was trying to think about how can I make it more interesting to me. And that was really helpful as well. So that's where my mind went when we were talking about it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a way that people can recode their brain, take that riding lawnmower through the woods and beat a cauliflower path in a lot shorter period of time with a lot less work.
Yeah.
So at least if they can take it from something that they hate to something they can choke down, right? Then they can start eating it. And then they do this technique again. And then once they're like, oh, I guess this is going to make me barf. I didn't barf. So that's better. That's an improvement.
Right.
So now I'm going to go through this technique again.
Right.
And then the next time they're not even choking it down. They're like, okay, meh, but I can eat it.
I think the other thing too is, correct me if I'm wrong here, but because we're sensual humans, like the senses are huge for us. not only like the look of it and you've built that neural pathway because you looked at it,
Mm-hmm.
you tried it, and the taste wasn't satisfying.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was like, and you can't smell it. So it's just that smell, right? That's what entices you kind of to food. And the fact that I can't smell it is different. But if you figure out ways to cook that food that you don't like differently, to where it can change the texture a little bit or change the flavor, that actually helps as well. So it's like you can picture that thing in your mind, like you were talking about, but then on top of that, figure out ways to cook it in a way that you might like it better. So,
Sure, because
yeah.
you mentioned one of the things you don't like about it is that it's crunchy.
Yeah,
So steam it, boom, not crunchy now.
not crunchy anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's quick ways to fix those issues, but
Hmm.
also incorporate that into your visualization technique there
Yeah.
with the cauliflower.
Yeah, and it works for anything, any food that you don't like or anyone doesn't like. It's not just
Hmm.
cauliflower, even though we've had a lovely time talking about cauliflower.
Yeah. Now let's talk about a food that you do like
Oh.
that you would rather not like.
Oh man, so many. What's more enticing and I get cravings for a lot is pizza. And I'm lactose intolerant. There's definitely like, you can get dairy-free cheese, but just to me it doesn't taste the same.
Hmm.
And pizza can be good. You can make it healthy, but I like the greasy, like the cheese, the bread, and
Hmm.
like thick, like a really New York. I think it's New York style. Is that the flat? Which one's flat and which one's thick? I don't know. The thicker one, the one that's like so it's a man's pizza, but I like it.
Deep
So
dish, I think
a
they call
deep
that.
dish,
Yeah.
yes, deep dish pizza, and I love it. But I wish I didn't like it. But it just tastes so good.
When you
So
have it, that's a lot of dairy, right? And so you'll
it's just
probably
a lot
pay
of
for it
dairy.
later.
Yeah, I do. But that's definitely a food I wish I liked a lot less.
How often do you have it?
I don't have it that often because I try to be good, because I do have a dairy intolerance, and I don't like the pain, but I used to eat it a lot more frequently, like maybe once a week.
When's the last time you had pizza?
Probably about 5 days ago.
Okay. And so is it like a once a week thing?
Hmm. Yeah, let's just say once a week for
And then how much pain do you experience after that?
a lot.
For how long?
Yeah. Probably for about a couple hours, maybe
Okay.
3. Just depends on how much I ate.
Right after?
Would say maybe like 30 minutes after.
Okay. And it
Hmm.
sets in, and then you're in pain for a few hours.
Hmm.
How long does it take to eat the pizza?
2.5 seconds. Sorry,
Okay,
it's
so
the truth.
picture picture your favorite pizza. Yummy Yes Pizza. You can close your eyes if you need
Okay. I
to.
feel like I'm in confession corner right now.
Rather forgive
Forgive
me
me, God, I've
for
sinned.
eating pizza.
Okay.
uh,
I'm closing my eyes.
Picture that pizza.
Mm.
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 Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Now, push it away a little further in your imagination. And then fade the colors. So not quite so brilliant.
Very gross now. Yeah.
And now put a piece of plexiglass between you and the pizza. So you're looking through the plexiglass. And now make it blurry like you're watching it on an old TV. Now turn it black and white. No colors at all. Just black and white pizza. Now move it further away from you yet in your imagination. And now kind of move it down into the corner of your imagination, of your imaginary screen. Now clear your mind, blank movie screen. Now say your phone number really fast.
Don't call me.
And then open, then open your eyes.
Or text, okay?
How does it
Definitely
seem to
better.
you now? Yeah.
Definitely better. I think when you talked about the colors fading, I was
Hmm.
like, ugh. So when you fade the colors, it's interesting
Hmm.
how all of a sudden you're not as interested in that,
Yeah.
right?
So what you just did is you sprouted some weeds in that nerve pathway through the woods.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not as smooth and easy to travel now.
Mm-hmm.
And then every time you do that technique, it pops up some more weeds and maybe a little tree, and then you're growing it back. You're creating a environment to grow it back faster than just plain atrophy. So if you stopped eating pizza cold turkey and you stopped thinking about pizza, then over time, that pathway would be gone and you wouldn't crave it anymore. Because the brain doesn't actually know the difference between eating pizza and thinking about eating pizza.
Say that one more time.
It's the same nerve pathway. The brain doesn't know the difference between physically eating pizza in the real world and imagining eating pizza.
So interesting.
Same nerve pathway.
Mm-hmm.
But when you take yourself out of that, or you do one of these techniques, you can pop some weeds up and throw some rocks in that path. Every time you do that technique, then pretty soon that path is gone.
And is this one of the brain techniques for most brain type tests?
No, this is one of the rarer ones. I mean, I've got over 30 brain training techniques.
Mm-hmm.
This one is the most common with the defender brain type.
Mm.
But it works. I'm not that brain type. It still works for me. It's just not in my top 6 like it is in the defender. So,
Yeah.
and for some people, it might not work at all. But then they just need to find out what their superpowers are.
Right.
This isn't one they would use.
Yeah.
There's plenty of others that would work, that would do
Right.
the same thing.
Yeah, because that's what we're doing is we're going in depth on every single brain training technique because there are so many on there. But you can always try this and see how it works for you. But the best way to, get results is to figure out what brain type that you have so that you can actually use the techniques that work best for you and go into depth and learn how to use them. So, yeah, this is a really good one. I did really like that going in, visualizing. It's really cool.
Yeah. And that's how the brain codes stuff. So we just went through it manually, but that's how we do it anyways, without knowing. Now we're just becoming aware of how that process is happening. It's going to happen anyways.
No.
We've done it unconsciously until now.
Mm-hmm.
Now we've just put it out in front. Now we know how it has happened in the past and how we can hack it now in the future. And so we already talked last couple podcasts about the EFT technique, which is super powerful. And that works for most brain types. The EFT, if it works for things, happens faster in some cases.
Mm-hmm.
But that's why we have lots of different brain training techniques for lots of different brain types and for lots of different aspects. And by aspect, I mean a very specific way that the nerves are traveling in that nerve pathway. So, for instance, if I have a craving for chocolate chip cookies, then if it's a branch of nerves in the brain, the cookies might be up here. So if I tap for those, or if I use this technique that we went through today for those cookies, then pretty soon that's gone, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that's up here. So snickerdoodle cookies are on a different branch over here on that tree, so to speak, of nerve pathway branches. So I still crave those. And we don't really know where things are until we do some of these techniques to find out. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I get lucky. Chocolate chip cookie was the root. Mm-hmm. So I tap for that. Boom, all the other cookies go away. Mm-hmm. The whole cookie tree's gone. I don't want snickerdoodles anymore. I don't want double chocolate. And all the other cookies are gone. But that's just, and so with EFT, you can tap it away, or with this one, you can make it go away over time. And you just don't know. So later on, you'll discover, I guess that worked for this too. Mm-hmm. But with these brain training techniques, I've gotten rid of hundreds of foods. I actually don't have any cravings that I don't want to have anymore. And I created cravings like broccoli that I didn't used to like, and Brussels sprouts. And I just can't get enough now. I crave those more than I ever did of the corner piece of chocolate cake. If I were at like a wedding or party or something, there was one of those rectangle cakes, I would wait until the corner was available, and hopefully it had one of those frosting flowers on it. So just so much frosting, ridiculous, obscene amounts of frosting, and that was my piece.
In our earlier episode, you were talking about EFT and tapping, and for people that are obviously new to the podcast and haven't heard this at all, where can you research tapping? like the EFT tapping.
Well, if you just want that one technique,
Right.
then you go to, it's a bit.ly link, bit.ly/PJ tapping. And that gets you to that technique by itself.
That's awesome. And then for the other technique, this one that you're talking about, the visualization technique, is there a link for that, or is it just on the brain type test and it's something that
It's
you
on the
have
brain
to?
type test.
That's
What we did
awesome.
today should be enough for people to see if it's going to work for them.
Okay.
If it doesn't, they would, need to find out some other techniques to do. But if it does, boom, they got a freebie. And then when they do this, they would want to do it really right. They would rate the food before and after on a scale of 0 to 10. So there's another one people can use, another freebie we tossed out there. People to learn about their brain a little bit, not only a technique, but how it works, how people develop habits and cravings over time.
Yeah, I think in today's society, like we've talked about in the last few episodes, there's just, I mean, people are constantly on the move. I mean, that's one of the things that we do here at the X Gym is we try to improve on time, right? We want to give people their time back, and it's hard with food, right? Because you're constantly on the go. So having those cravings and then being out and about and wanting to grab food is just a dangerous combo. So tapping away those cravings or visualizing or using whatever brain technique that you have from your superpowers, you want to unlock those so that you can figure that out so you can actually rewire your brain so that when you are out and you're on the go, you're not having those cravings and ruining your diet or your lifestyle choices, so that you're not reaching your goals, and that's just not what we want. And that's our goal here, is to make sure that you're living a fitter, healthier lifestyle. And that's why we want to train the brain, not just the body, to get towards that goal. So
Yeah. The brain is the most important part
yeah, that's where it
because
starts.
that's the boss of you.
That's where it starts.
That's
And
going to make it easy or it's going to make it hard.
totally.
Yeah. Nice. Boom.
And that's all I have to say about that.